Welcome to I Wish You Could Hear This, where we explore great stories and simple proven steps to help you thrive in life, faith, and relationships.
In our research, we've heard hundreds of hope-filled strategies for marriage, parenting, leadership, and life that are grounded in science and consistent with biblical truth. And now you can hear them too.
I'm Shaunti Feldhahn.
And I'm Jeff Feldhahn.
Today, we are in a mental health crisis. So we are talking about something that many churches and churchgoers quietly wrestle with. What do you do when hurting people come through your doors? Because they don't usually say, you know what, I think I need a counselor. Instead, they're basically going to say, I need prayer for my finances, or my marriage is in trouble. Pastors and counselors want to help, but they're full quite often, or people can't afford counseling. And many pastors simply don't have time to counsel everyone. So the question is, in this season we're in, is there another way? Today, we have some practical advice from Des Wadsworth and Lenny Nasca, the pastor and counseling director of a church with a thriving lay counseling ministry, who have much wisdom to share. We hope this podcast will be immensely helpful, not just for those who work in the church today, but also for anyone involved in the church, small group leaders, volunteers, anyone who wants to know how they can help the church respond well to the mental health crisis.
Des and Lenny, thank you both for joining us here on I Wish You Could Hear This.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Welcome.
Really appreciate you guys.
So great. So let me introduce both of these folks to our audience. Des Wadsworth has served as the lead pastor of Grace Community Church in Tempe, Arizona since 2016, with a passion for spiritual growth and authentic discipleship. Your assistant told us, Pastor Des, that you continually encourage the congregation to learn Jesus' words, live Jesus' ways, and love like Jesus in everyday life. What a great endorsement.
I mean, first of all, it was 2015. That was one thing.
Boom.
Okay, boom.
And I mean, that phrase of learn his words, live his ways, and love like him is my interpretation of Matthew 4:19. Come follow me, I will make you fishers of men. So that's simply another way of putting it in a way that the current culture and context can get their head around. So it's not that brilliant, really. It's just Jesus.
It works.
It's translating some good words, though.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So Lenny Nasca is the director of Grace Counseling, the lay counseling center out of Grace Community. He supervises more than 30 volunteers. They provide free lay counseling to the Tempe, Arizona area and to the church. So Lenny has a master's degree in social work and is a licensed clinical social worker and has a private practice in Tempe as well.
And he's like my hero because he was so helpful when we were arranging our research trips. Yeah, so just so everybody knows, this is one of those where we were in great need of being able to just talk to people who were already doing lay work around mental health in the church. And Lenny was so helpful arranging. He actually helped arrange not one, but two research trips.
So Lenny, this is clearly one of those not one and done type things. So we went back for two research trips, and now we're hitting you up again. So I'm not sure
pressure.
what the future holds, but
yeah, gotta be careful.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I appreciate you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No. Thanks for being with us.
For sure.
Totally. It's a blessing, and the work we're doing is all designed for service to, if we can put it out there that there's a way to get help, that you can do that where you worship, that you don't have to go to an outside entity, that somehow therapy does not come in line with scripture, because it does, and I'm sure we'll talk about that you can get the support you need where you are expressing your faith and in a community that you already understand and know. I think that's important. That's a big part of why I love to do this that I'm serving the way that I think God wants me to. And so it makes it easy for me. Yeah.
Thank
That's
you. And
awesome.
that's a perfect transition for just diving into our conversation.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Pastor Des, could you tell us what other pastors see today in terms of the scope of need? It sounds like most pastors that we talk to and churches have a lot of people asking for help today.
The human condition is broken. That's where we start. So we start from a brokenness position. And so what we're seeing right now is quite literally thousands of people engaging in the church, not just to come and have a time of worship, but to engage with a people where they can feel maybe seen, hopefully heard, but there is a quest for hope, without doubt. And so I'm seeing that more and more increasingly. But with that, here's the good thing I see right now. People are coming in saying, I cannot do this on my own. I've tried it on my own. I've
So,
tried to fix me. I cannot fix me. So can you help? So yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily a crisis. What I do see in the good side of it is people now saying, I need help. I want help. Help me. So they're not burying it the way they maybe used to. They're no longer saying, I can't do it. Please help.
and these people, are they members of your church, or are you finding that just average,
Everywhere.
yeah, people out of the community?
I think they're everywhere, but the people walking into our environments are all over the base of humanity. So we've got people coming in now who are, this is the first time they've ever stepped foot in a church. A
Wow.
lot of people like that. The first time they've
Wow.
ever done that. I think there's not been a week gone by in the last few months where I've not had somebody say, this is my first time in a church.
Wow.
So here's a great one. Our prayer gathering last week, we do a monthly prayer gathering. We had two guys come in who'd never been in a church in their whole life, and their first experience was the prayer gathering. Because somebody had invited them and said, hey, you should come to our church. We have this prayer gathering. And they felt more, I think that will be an environment I'd like to come to more than your Sunday thing first.
Maybe less
Wow.
overwhelming or whatever.
Yeah, and I think they felt
Interesting.
that was more, wait for it, that felt a bit more of a spiritual encounter.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we're going to pray rather than, we're going to sing.
Right.
You know,
or
that
someone tell us
mindset.
what
Yeah.
we should be doing.
So with that in mind, we're more and more getting people
Interesting.
that either are unchurched completely or de-churched. They have some kind of a background in it in some way. But those kind of people are my native language, so I'm good with that.
I love that. It's interesting to hear that from you, because that is one of that reality of people coming to the church for help is one of the reasons why Jim Sells and I wrote the book that, Lenny, that you helped us with that research trip, When Hurting People Come to Church, that was just released. Because we did a survey. Actually, I don't know if you knew this. We did a giant research study, a giant survey, more than 2,000 pastors of all streams of the church, and they're all seeing this, right? And they're all seeing that people are coming, and maybe they do some pastoral counseling for a few sessions, and then they'll refer out to the counselors if it's something more significant. But often, the psychiatrists or the therapists are full, or they have to wait for 6 or 8 weeks, or people can't afford it. So in the book, we're proposing raising up more lay people who can help come alongside in whatever way works for that church. And so, Lenny, you all built a really robust lay counseling process, as that's the way Grace decided, that at least one way that they could step in and meet the need. Can you tell us a bit about your lay counseling program and what it involves?
Yeah, and in all honesty, obviously, I didn't create this program. We we're able to get information from other churches in the area. Scottsdale Bible comes to mind, that had started ministries. Sometimes they're called Stevens ministries. Less integration of like therapeutic modalities, more spiritual sort of mentoring. And so the lay counseling model sort of takes in that perspective and then adds, can we bring in a little bit of background into the psychology of it? And I think that sometimes that helps then with I think a more widespread outcome. So our program here is based off of their program that they started. And what I did was I was here as a volunteer with the person who had started it at our church, a pastor previous to me. When that pastor left, the church had asked me if I would be interested in continuing the ministry. That was 2017. And obviously I had to like, I was kind of like, okay, yeah, but what does this mean? And so after a few days of going, okay, what does this mean? Um, I think I think it was something that because I didn't come up with the idea for me to be the coordinator, that I felt very confident that God was leading me to do it. And so because I didn't ask for it, I jumped on it. And so then the idea is the program, what it's designed to do is train people who aren't from a therapeutic background, people who don't have a degree in counseling per se. And if they're interested, put them through a program to vet them for the ability to learn, the ability to be empathetic, the ability to listen, and lovingly sit with someone when they're hurting. And then that process I do to get an idea of who the person is. So there's an academy that they go through, and once that process is done, what we tend to do then is we have supervision. So we continually meet. Education is always being added, and it's sort of my responsibility to make sure that everything that they have to adhere to is done. So the biggest, I think I'm answering the question the right way. The program is designed to reach out, but not overstep the bounds of trying to make somebody who's a volunteer be a professional counselor. So it's advertised in a way to let people know you are meeting with someone who is volunteering to do this, that it is biblically based, and that people can access it from anywhere. Like Des said, we don't just get people from the church, we get people from everywhere. We get people who are already in their faith confessing it. We have people that are not. Des said something parallel to what I experience. We have people who use our service as a first time person going to see a therapist because they they've never done this before, right? They've never gone to therapy before, and so us being able to offer them something that I guess it's not as intrusive
Mm,
because they don't have to pay for it. It's free
sure.
99. And so they can walk away anytime. And what we're finding is most people don't. They
Hmm.
stay. They stay. We give them 10 free sessions, and they typically want to stay and use all the sessions. And then that's a platform. If now they feel it's not as scary as they thought it was, it is safe for them to do this, then they seek the professional level after that. And we've developed a service for that too. And
Wow.
so that's kind of what we do and why we do it.
That's so cool.
Can I ask a question for either of you on that one? So I see absolutely the appeal of that for someone who is struggling.
Yeah.
How does it feel on the recruiting volunteers to be in this position? Is that something that you have to, come on, folks, we need your help. You got to do this. Or I'm thinking of myself in this situation. Um, we all feel that desire to share good news, the gospel, all of those things. And many of us aren't gifted with that evangelistic gift of going out and just meeting people. But if you could have people coming to you and you can ultimately get them, hopefully, into that position if they don't know um, our Savior, you can help them get there. But I mean,
And just provide hope.
and just provide
Yeah.
hope. That feels like an appealing ministry to be involved in.
I can speak into that by saying this. I think this is the case for every human, but especially in today's culture. People do not care how much you know till they know how much you care.
Ah,
Wow.
That's critical. And so they're not coming
I
in to
think I
say,
need to put
give
that
me
on a
your,
banner somewhere.
yeah, don't give me your information. Don't give me your information. I, I, I want to engage with another human. I
Yeah.
want to be seen and heard. And so from that side, that do you care for me is critical. And that softens someone's heart. Therefore, it
Yeah.
becomes good soil for whatever we plant in it.
For whatever it is. Well,
Yes.
one of the things that I just want to mention there, Pastor, is that I think a lot of people don't necessarily realize, like caring people in the average church don't recognize that when in all good intentions, they hear, somebody in their small group is really struggling in their marriage or, with grief because they lost their mom or, just like the basics. And they're like, oh, let's get you some help. Let's refer you to a counselor. I I don't think that they realize that that's not necessarily a bad thing, but the counselor, like that person probably just needs a friend. Like the counselor is not, they're not able to come to their house on Thursday night for dinner, right? They'll lose their license if they do that.
Yeah, we don't do that.
We don't do
and
that.
so and so the issue of for a church is creating opportunities to walk alongside, even if like in your lay counseling ministry, which I remember you telling me when I was there, Lenny, that this isn't, it's not friendship in the same way, because it is taking on a little bit more towards that counseling direction. But ultimately, like when the 10 sessions are done, you want to connect people into, let's get you into grief share. Let's get you into small group. Let's get you into community where you can have those friends.
Yeah, and the whole reason that it even exists is because rapport is fundamental to therapeutic relationships. So the whole idea that we can even do this is because to love someone is the baseline, right? To be able to want to have empathy for someone who's suffering, which most people run from that because suffering is not fun to watch or be a part of, but it's absolutely what we're called to do in some way, and especially for us in this line of work, I I have to be with people when they're suffering. It's like the you're not taking their burden from them, but you want to be there for them so they have somewhere to go when they're in it. And so the idea that you can teach a lay person to have some technique so that the conversation is guided in a positive direction, but most of it is the person's heart. You have to have rapport. You have to want to sit with somebody and listen to them as they're hurting. And so that's the only reason we can even do this. We have loving people in a room who want to donate their time. It's always amazing to me when I meet with my group and I'm looking at all these faces that are willingly doing this. I can't pay them, and they're just there because they have a heart for it. And so yeah, that's it's tremendous, and it really does put it in a perspective to let you know that if we can give them some skills and we can help them along the way, and it's really the structure that they want so badly. I always tell them that we are advanced volunteers, right? So we are volunteers with a catch, like you have to commit. And so I make them commit when they sign the contract to come into the academy for a year, that if they're willing to be trained, they have to be willing to tell me that they're going to stay volunteering for at least a year, because really what it comes down to is the commitment is not for me, it's their commitment to what they think God is driving them to do. Because when you want to donate time, usually you're feeling a call that God is saying, okay, I want you to go on a trip overseas, or I want you to talk to a school, or I want you to donate at a homeless shelter, whatever it is. And for these particular people that I have in my group, they felt like they wanted to be able to sit with somebody and listen to somebody, and then that was what they wanted. So I have some volunteers that have been with me for upwards of 7, 8 years. That's just
Wow.
unheard of. And it's just they love God and they love what the ministry is doing. And so I think one of your questions is that, how do we keep them? We keep them because
Right.
they are invested in what they're doing, and then they see the outcome of helping someone, saving someone in that moment, to not be alone, like letting God work through them so that someone
Mm.
who is hurting has an outlet and they're not alone. And so I don't I'm combining those things because I think it's a part of it. It's the rapport, and then it's the idea that they're there willingly, they want to serve this way,
Mm.
so they
And
stay.
That the reason they want to serve, and this is where, for maybe other church leaders listening,
Yes.
we know the scripture that we are put into certain positions, pastors, evangelists, etc. Why? To equip God's people for works of ministry, for works of service. Do we believe as pastors that within the body, God has equipped the body with the necessary gifts? One of those gifts is the gift of mercy. We are to be merciful, but some people are gifted with it. Some people want to go and visit somebody in need. They want to go to the hospital to visit. They feel that it's a magnetic draw. I feel most alive when I am demonstrating compassion and care. Some people, that drains the life out of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'll tell you, for me personally, give me 1,000 weddings a year, I'm all over it. But don't give me more than 5 funerals. You know, but
Oh, interesting.
I know somebody who'll go get me with those grieving people. I come alive. Bit of an oxymoron, but you know, get me with
Yeah,
those
no, I
grieving
know what you
people.
mean.
That's where I have a gift. So it's our role as shepherds to release the gift of shepherding to other people where their gift is. So Lenny's got people who do it and they want to do it because guess what? The gift that God had put in them was to show mercy and compassion, and that gift is being fanned into flame. So why would you
Wow.
not want to do it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But
Which
we
is,
as that's the role as a shepherd, and that's the key thing. I say it to our leaders, our elders even, who are called over shepherds. I cannot be a shepherd if I never touch sheep. I've got to touch sheep or I'm not a shepherd. So sheep come to me and they want shepherding and I go, I'm not your guy. Like, I'm not your guy, but I know a guy. It's like, you need to go to our counseling ministry, and they go, counseling, how much is that going to cost? And when we say it's like free for like 10 sessions, and then word gets out. Some people go, I had the 10 sessions. I was stuck. Now I'm not stuck. And that is all that some people need. Stuck, not stuck. People come to me and instantly I can go, hey, we can meet for coffee and I can help. And then some people come to me and I go, way beyond me. And so I message Lenny, I have this guy. I have a guy, I have a situation. When they come to you, you need to give them attention because they're stuck. So, but that's a whole different operation than me referring them out to another organization that I know of, but I don't relate with.
yeah.
That's fantastic.
I was fascinated in the survey of pastors. I don't remember the exact number, but it was a pretty high percentage of pastors that were like, I have people that I can refer folks to for outside counseling and therapy, but I have this concern, like I don't really know what's being said in those offices. Like even if it's a Christian counselor, like until I really have worked with them for a long time, I still don't know. And like literally like one of the things that is a hallmark, a touchstone for me years ago, I was trying to get a close friend who lived in another state, marriage counseling. And she wanted to leave her husband and was bound and determined she was going to leave him. And there was, as far as I could tell, good guy, no biblical grounds, a lot of hurt from her past. And it was coming out in the marriage, like just classic, marriage stuff. And so I finally got a hold of a pastor at a church that we had spoken at. So we knew him and trusted him. And he's like, okay, I will find you a counselor for her. And so she finally agreed. She goes to the first counseling session recommended by this pastor. And I get a 1-line email back. Well, my counselor says marriage isn't for everybody. And I'm like, I wanted to beat my head against a wall. And this is what I know some pastors deal with as well. Like they just don't know. And so that's another thing is you're never going to get perfect volunteers, but at least they're trained by you,
Yeah.
like with your heart.
So can I go to a question that I think probably if there's pastors listening to this, that they have, and I'm a lawyer by training, so I apologize in advance. But for a lot of pastors who hear about what you guys are doing and go, yeah, but if we start something like that at our church, oh my gosh, the exposure to liability, the lawyers are going to have a field day. We're going to get sued. Someone's going to say something they shouldn't say. Whatever the fear is. How'd you guys deal with that? And you have any advice?
So the practical stuff first. I have a license. It's a state license. I'm a clinically licensed. Um, God gives me permission to take on this risk, point
Hmm.
blank. If I did this in my own mind, I'm scared out of it. I am so deathly afraid in my flesh that someone's going to do something, but I've compartmentalized that to the 10th degree because God's bigger than that. I am
Mm,
doing what I am doing at risk, but it's in Him, so it's not risk. And I've come to terms with that. I am fully invested in doing my service the way that I think God wants me to. And I put fences around my volunteers. There
hmm.
are rules that they must follow. And
Yep.
I don't know if you've ever fired a Christian volunteer before, but I have. It's not fun, but it's necessary to maintain the validity and structure that the demands that come from outside the spiritual, there's rules that you have to follow. So
Yep.
very, very structured in how I approach this. And Des and the team in here has come and found out about what I do and spoke to me about what I do, so they have an understanding of what's happening. And I'm very careful about how we go about our business. We have boundaries around when we meet, who we meet. All of my volunteers understand that whatever happens in that room, that's how you know that person. You don't get to socialize with them afterwards, and that's something you have to teach people, because our natural instincts, especially as believers, is we want to hug and laugh and share. And when they find out that they can't do that, it is a struggle for some, and they
Hmm.
have to learn the parameters. And this is something that I think scares people from the outside. If pastors are listening, it's, if you have a structured program, you can teach people what the rules are. And then the love part, is what brought them. So I'm not having to teach people how to be compassionate. I'm having to teach them how to be um, respectful of the idea, the concept of the therapeutic relationship as a different relationship than a friend, different
Mm.
than a mentor, different than, right. And so that's something that's my responsibility, and that's again why I have Academy and why I structure it the way that I do. And some people don't want that, and so then I politely and lovingly tell them that this isn't probably a fit that's going to work for them. And that's,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
so the liability absolutely is there. I would lie to you if I said it wasn't, but I am I've yeah, I'm not going back to not believing that God is in charge of this. And so I'm not afraid on a daily basis. There's
Good.
occasional missteps that I have to deal with, but I do so accordingly. And I hope that answers the question,
It,
but
it,
that's,
it does. And the truth of the matter is, liability is out there for everything we do all the time. And, we can live in a sense of fear of, oh my gosh, our youth program. We can't have a youth program. My goodness, things could really go sideways there. Or a young marrieds program. What happens if, two couples, whatever, your mind can go in all different ways. And I think at some point you just have to go, just what you were saying, Lenny. It's a God calling, and this is how we can serve.
I think the other answer is, let's just go biblical. Jesus said, "Whatever you did to the least of these, you did unto me."
Mm,
To
Yeah.
therefore not care is blank disobedience. Like, this
mm,
is the other side. Like, it's Proverbs 29:25 in full operation. Fear of man will prove to be a snare, but
Oh,
he who
yeah.
trusts in the Lord is kept safe. So am I going to be
wow.
driven by the fear of man and therefore not care, not show compassion, or do I genuinely want to be the hands and feet of Jesus where I can because he's called me to it? But for me to say, sorry, Jesus, not going to care for them because it's too risky.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we just might get in trouble here. And
Yeah.
then you go, well,
Yep.
where's your line? Where's your line of compassion? And so, um, I just, I think for pastors who are fearful, I'm like, well, the size of your God's too small, then.
Oof.
He's too
Yeah.
small. He's too small if you are bowing to the fear of man and the fear of
Mm,
what might go wrong. Well,
right.
I'll tell you what
Yeah.
might go wrong. That person may not receive full transformation in Jesus. That's what could go wrong.
Right.
Well,
So flip the
Right.
script. Yeah.
and also one of the
Wow.
things that I'm hearing from you guys is, I mean, there was when, and I want to ask a question about the start of this, which I know wasn't for you guys starting it, but still, I want to ask a question in a second about that. But you all picked, for whatever reason, and felt led to pick a certain approach, right? Like Lenny, you are a licensed clinical social worker, and so you can oversee and supervise a team of volunteers under your license, so to speak, doing this in a, it's not the same as if they were going to go to a counseling office with a licensed therapist, but there is psychological training, there's regular supervision, there are, you've put some of those boundaries in place that are common with therapy, like this isn't going to be you and your best friends, right? Like this, you're not going to be close friends. Another church might say what we feel led to do is a different version because that's what they feel led to do. So, like, they may say, you know, I want more biblical counseling, like where I can be a friend. And part of it is going to each other's house on Thursday night. And that's just, that's a completely different process. And it's like, whatever you feel God is leading you to do to care for the least of these, to me, seems like as long as you do it thoughtfully, with intention, with guardrails of some kind that you feel led to, it seems like developing a ministry in this area is the most important thing rather than any one particular model that it has to be. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
There's one exception to that, and that's just the details of if a church engages in what they're calling a therapeutic interaction, there has to be somebody licensed at the
Mm,
helm of it. So that's the
Mm-hmm.
only difference. If you're just doing mentoring and you're doing, again, a Stevens ministry where you're not claiming it as therapy, you're just really saying you're sitting down with somebody and mentoring them on a scripture, or you're guiding them through something that would be an identity issue with Christ, and solely that. You're not mixing in depression, anxiety, codependency, or even more severe, bipolar or a personality disorder. That's the switch where you have to have somebody licensed clinically, or you do run into legitimately doing something that could be harmful to another person. And so, the contract that I have is different than if I was like a staff person. And so the paperwork that people fill out to use us is no different than if they went to see their medical doctor. So
Mm-hmm.
the paperwork is official. The paperwork is the binding agreement. So that's the only thing I would say, as to what you just said, is that's the only difference. If you go into the realm of a therapeutic thing, you have to have somebody licensed because there are certain things that have to be accounted for. That would be the
Mm-hmm.
only exception to that. If you're just
Interesting.
doing, yeah, that would be the one piece I would say, though. You have to
So
have, there's a
like
separation.
so like it's not clinical depression, it's sadness, right? Like
Y-
somebody's,
it's grief.
of course you're sad. Your mom died. Like, like it's that kind of distinction in
Yeah,
your
you don't,
mind.
anybody can talk about sadness. And
Right,
hopefully they are.
exactly.
Hopefully they are. The idea being is when you enter into a relationship with somebody confidentially, because confidentiality is everything when you're talking about therapeutic, that means that anything that is said is not shared. If I want to pray for them afterwards with a group of people, that's not something that my guys can, or my guys and gals can't do, because they've found out about the information in a confidential setting. That's the difference. That's the difference between the the therapeutic approach versus just being a mentor. Is once it enters into the therapeutic realm, there has to be confidentiality that has to be protected. And that would be the only
That
caveat.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm dying to ask this question because one of the things that I have done is I've talked to, especially to pastors. Now, this is also interested volunteers, that kind of thing, but especially pastors. Many pastors have thought of doing something like this, like especially these days, right? Like it's everywhere. The need is everywhere. And yet every pastor I know is the busiest person that I know, right? Like that they're already feeling completely full. Like there is absolutely no room, no capacity to do something else in our church. So I'm curious, what would enable a pastor to even think that this was possible to start something like this?
That question applies to everything. So I think every pastor needs to understand that whenever you want to implement new things or whenever you want to go from one position to a better one, it goes in the shape of a J. It's the J curve of change. We all know that in every way. So it's like we're here and we want to be there. It's not going to go like that.
Mm-mm.
It's not going to
You've
go in a
then got
straight
to go,
line.
but I can choose to be stuck here, or I can say, I think we can be there, but let's just do the work, and it goes like that. So yes, there's work, but I think for a lot of pastors, they need to know, stop adding things and start saying to the Lord, what is it I need to say no to so I can be released into your better?
Hmm.
And that's John 15. That's everything to do with pruning, and so I think I really want this. Well, if you really want to change, are you prepared to do the work of saying no to some things to get to where you need to be? And it's a J curve of change.
Yeah.
But you'll never get there if it's like, oh, I've just got too many things. Well, what if
Right.
you got to a space where all those things that are coming at you, you can go, oh, I've got something better for you now. You need to go to our counseling center. You need to go see Lenny. You
And
need to,
suddenly
or
you're suddenly
yes,
you're freed up.
yes,
Like, yes.
yes. That's this thing. I need to learn the skill of empowering and releasing other people. And in so doing, you're released to do what you're good at. So that it's a mindset, and I do get a little frustrated with guys who go, yeah, but it's okay for you because, and I'm going, no, if I want to be healthier in my physical body, I'm gonna have to make some changes. So if I want our church body to be healthier, we're going to have to make some adjustment and changes. It's just down to how much do you really want to change? Do you really want that? And if you do, then relentlessly, collectively, you go, right, what's it going to take? And you do the hard work. And it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I I'm loving what you're saying. And I know that there's pastors out there who are like, and one of the things that I just want to mention this for any leader out there who's in that, like, I don't know how I could do it phase. One of the things that I think will make a difference is if you pray for and look for a Lenny,
Hmm.
right? Like Lenny, you
Try
may
not to make
not.
me cry on the
I,
podcast, please.
yeah, no, but seriously,
Right.
like you, one of the things you told me when I first interviewed you to get your perspective as a church that was already doing this and had been doing this for quite some time and at a higher level, like that lay counseling level that you're talking about, rather than like a lay listening level. Um, One of the things you said was, look, I'm in a private practice, and yet I feel called to do this. And I can't remember how many, I think it was 10 hours a week, if I'm remembering correctly, like at the
Yeah,
beginning. I can't remember,
that's
but
about right. Yeah.
yeah, but I think you said, like, it's not a full-time job. The church doesn't have to pay you as a full-timer. Like, there are people out there who, you've got a counselor in your church, or you've got a retired nurse, or you've got a whatever, who start with just 2-3 hours a week of be the person that takes those calls and maybe trains 1 or 2 people and see what happens, rather than feeling like you have to start so big. Get the coordinator, get your Lenny,
Well,
who can help
and you know
that.
what? Yeah, and I can. We start. We started slow. We had to have infrastructure first, right? There had to be a concept and an idea. I walked into that part. I was blessed that way. I walked into an infrastructure. I modified it once I got here to tighten up a few things that I needed to do for me personally. But the growth was at the beginning was, I think I had 10. Now we have like 40 volunteers. So
Wow.
Wow.
I've graduated 9 master's level interns. I'm on number 9 right now. So I have help, and
Wow.
I have the idea behind the help is that like I said before, we pray for the support and then it comes. So, I mean, I know it sounds, I hate to say this, but like people think this is cliche. No, this is what I really believe, and it's what I live. And it happens. If, it's what's that old movie with the baseball? If you build it, they will come kind of thing, right?
Right?
Yes.
we I think, and I share this with Des. I mean, what's happened is it's younger generations are seeking Jesus, and we need to
Mm.
be ready. And if we're not ready, shame on us. If we're not, it's exciting to see young people laugh, and they're at church when they're doing it.
Mm.
They're not, you know what I mean, and they're not watching, they're at church, and
Right.
they're showing their emotions, and they're crying with each other, they're laughing, they're having disagreements, they're learning, they're growing. And um unfortunately, mental health is a part of that, that they're in that age range where a lot of scary stuff happens to them, and there's a lot of misleading out there that causes them to be afraid of the very natural changes that they're
Mm.
Mm.
going through. And we can offer them an outlet so they can talk about what is normal, things that we in our generation kind of took for granted, that every once in a while you're going to fall. And the good news was nobody filmed it. And now they're so afraid. I think the bottom line for us is it did start small. It started
Mm.
small. In the time that both of us have been here, it's the growth is because God is using us, and so we're going to keep getting used as long as we
Right.
stay in the fight. And I think the what you said about this is true. Anybody can start small, because then you're not. This was growth over time to get us to a point where we're doing over 1,000 hours of free counseling every year.
Wow.
And we're gonna break that number out totally this year. We're gonna surpass that, and that's all due to just being faithful and letting God use us the way that we're able to be used. And I just think a lot of it's getting out of the way. That's what a lot of it is. Get out of the way.
And that's 1,000 hours for those people that otherwise could be that the enemy of our soul could have been tormenting them.
Yeah.
And instead, they were hearing life and truth and compassion and mercy.
And healing. Okay, so we need to wrap up here shortly, but I want to ask a really practical question to both of you, to each of you. If you have an opportunity here to speak to a pastor, to a care pastor, to a counselor that maybe it sits in a church every Sunday and wishes that there was more that they could do, if for whomever the leader is that's listening, that maybe thinks maybe our church could start something, what is a good first step? Like, what should they leave this podcast and write down on a piece of paper? I am going to do this next. What's a good first step?
Not cliche. You absolutely have to get on your knees and you have to pray. You have to pray and you have to listen in your prayer.
Mm.
Do we really trust the leading of the Holy Spirit?
Mm.
And then say, okay, well, where do I go practically first? You email Lenny, and that's what you do. But I give that example to say, no, I literally mean that. But at the same time, you just go, can I have a real person who can just help me with this? Like that really is it. We've all read. I've read books upon books upon books upon books, and a lot of them give me a lot of great insight and help. But where I've had transformation is with a conversation with somebody else who has already lived the book and gone, well, how did you really apply it? Give me the practical next step. So we were never meant to do it all on our own. So I do believe first step, really pray, and pray the Lord of the harvest will send the counselor.
The counselor,
Both
And
Holy
that's just-
Spirit and person. Do you know what I mean? But
Right.
pray that. Okay, Lord, this is where, and allow him to do that. And let me add this. Exposure's key. So we've got an explosive college ministry taking place here right now. Explosive. We've
There's
gone
3 or
from
4 of them, right? 3 or 4 kids.
3 or 4 kids. Yeah, we've gone from 100 college kids 4 years ago to 1,800 college kids.
Wow.
Meeting every week on a Thursday night and then splitting over
How
into
do
a
you have
Sunday.
room for that?
Well, we don't. We
make
have
it.
overflow rooms. We have overflow rooms. It's crazy. But
I was gonna say I've been on your campus. You don't,
yeah, we
right?
we added seats. We added some seats to make it a 1,500 seat room, and then we have 2 overflows of 100 and something plus.
Oh my
But let me say this: Lenny is serving that ministry, so that demographic have had key questions and what do we do about it. So our college pastor says, "Hey, tonight earlier, like 2 hours before the main gathering, we've got Lenny coming in to talk about this." So then what you're doing is you're exposing to the next generation a person in Lenny and what we do, and then you're breaking down the barriers of what it is for that person to maybe seek help. But you're also sowing the seed that for a future generation, I want to do that. That's what I want to get into.
Cool.
Wow.
So
That's cool, 'cause you can
we're
see
just
that.
we're just so short-sighted in what we're doing. It's like it's always meant to be fruit bearing, which is something that has seed in it to reproduce after its kind. So that's where, for some of it, it may well be, I said, reach out to a Lenny, look at a critical mass of group you've got and have somebody come in and share. And then you might find that there's somebody in your church goes, guess what? I used to do that. Guess what? I have a license with this. And you allow them in an environment of the Lord's presence to, oh, wow, what can I do about that? So that will be
That's great. That's great advice. Okay, Lenny, your turn.
Lenny.
What's your
I start the same way. You have to definitely have a heart that God has given you to do the thing, because the fear comes when you don't have it in alignment with what God is asking you to do. And I don't have fear. I just don't. And God is telling me do this. God is telling me advocate. I don't get tired. You, it's so funny that what Des said about passing it on. I've been praying, and I'm not even done yet. I'm not ready to be done. I'm already praying for someone to take it over. I'm already like saying, who's going to come beside me and let me mentor them so they can take this over. I want to watch somebody do it. I want to sit in a seat and watch somebody do it. I have that thought all the time. I'm like, who's going to do this? And I'm waiting for that day. I don't know when it's going to come, but I'm waiting for that day for someone to say, maybe it's one of my interns, maybe it's somebody who's in the pew and I don't even haven't met them yet, but wanting to, my first step is this: if you are a licensed clinical therapist going to church and you think God is placing this on your heart and you've prayed about it, hey, how about set up an appointment with your pastor? And ask to talk to him and say, "Hey, pastor, have you ever thought about this?" And again, I got a little bit lucky here, if you want to call it lucky, but blessed that there was a thing in play, and the pastors at the time came to me and asked me, "What's my involvement? What is this thing that you're doing? And do you think it has a purpose that we need to continue to do as a ministry? It lives without me." I'm just doing it right now. I'm just the guy who's doing it right now. But the ministry will never end as long as we have a heart to do this type of work. And so, any church who wants to do this, it shouldn't just be for, you guys made me blush to say for a Lenny to do it, but whoever's going to do it, to the counselors out there, you better put on your battery pack you better start to remember what it was like when you first got saved and you were on fire,
Mm.
because I've been blessed as an Italian guy to have some passion in me, and I'm on fire still,
Mm.
at least when it comes to this. And I get passionate because I know what it does to be able to hold space for somebody who's hurting, cuz I hurt, right? So if I know what it's like for me, I certainly can translate that to somebody else, right? And so I want to help someone who's hurting. And if I'm doing that for free, that's the last thing I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about the fact that God's in the room every time I get the goose pimples on my arm. I'm thinking about the fact that they're not just listening to me speak, it's impacting them in the deepest parts of who they are. And that's the piece that lets them, my words don't heal them. When they leave and they do application and they feel connected to God, that does the work. I just happen to be there in the moment, and I think that part of this is knowing that I'm not the guy who did anything. I just held the space long enough for the Holy Spirit to do something for that person. And so that's how you get it going. That's the I think the piece you jump into, and then I've been blessed. I have a pastor who supports me, and his team supports me. They're very kind to me, and you can't, like, obviously you can't plan for that. You hope that that happens at most churches. That would be my take on it. How you That's your first step, is pray about it and then make a phone call, set up a meeting, and talk to the team that you work with about what it would look like to have a
Mm.
counseling program.
That's awesome.
Wow.
I mean, and just as a quick aside, you could, even if you're not a licensed therapist who's listening to this, and you just have a heart for, maybe you have a heart for people and you're a really good organizer.
Yeah.
You could be the one who goes to your pastor and
Gets it
says,
started.
I'm not the therapist. I'm not going to be the supervisor, but I can help organize. I can
Right.
help pull people together. And I may know a guy. So,
His name's Lenny.
Well, I'm only in Arizona.
So,
And he's
y'all,
staying here. He's
I'm
staying
staying.
here. All right.
you guys, I mean, we said that we were going to only keep you for 30 minutes or so. And,
oops.
well, we've blown through that. And
Oops.
thank you for being so generous with your wisdom, your experience, and time. Before we do wrap, though,
Yeah, as we wrap.
we've said a lot. Y'all have said a lot. We've asked a lot of questions. People tend to forget what they've heard, in lots of things. If there was one thing that you each wanted someone who was listening, be it a leader, be it someone sitting in the pew, to take away and remember of this conversation, of what you all are doing, what would that one thing perhaps be?
Love God, love others.
Hmm.
However, you need to be doing that. Like, that is the overflow. I cannot say I love God and not love others. And then, pastors out there, pastors, you were never meant to do it all. In fact, you are getting in the way of somebody who's more gifted than you in another area.
Oof.
You're getting in the way. So I should be bringing my best at what I'm best at. So therefore, everything else, it takes a village. But you were never meant to be doing it all. So if you feel overwhelmed and burdened, you need to tell your people, this isn't good for you. Not just not good for me. So,
Huh.
yeah, and
Fantastic.
and that would be my
Thank you, Des.
one of
Thank
1,000
you.
things.
Yeah, it's
Thank
hard to
you,
do
Pastor
one, right?
Des.
Yeah.
It is, isn't
It's
it?
hard.
My one thing to take away is that you're broken and you're also beloved, and come to terms with the fact that you're both at the same time. He loves us so much. It's crazy, crazy love, as they say in the songs, right?
Mm.
But you're also broken, and it's okay to acknowledge that you need to talk about the broken part as much as you can talk about the beloved part. Here's the ironic twist: sometimes we forget to talk about the beloved part and we focus too much on the broken part. So I'm throwing that out there. That's my one takeaway, guys. Understand that we're doing this, all of us, all across everywhere you're from, is for the same purpose. To have God be in someone's life that may not know him the way that they could know him, And I think that the brokenness sometimes is what gets in the way. So you provide something like this to help them navigate it, to manage it a little better, so that they can really bloom in the beloved. They can really bloom in the part of them that is what they're intended to be. That would be my
Wow.
takeaway.
That's beautiful.
That is beautiful.
Gosh. Okay. Well, I could talk to you guys all day, but we need to
And
let
she
you
has.
go. And I have talked to you, Lenny, all day. So thank you guys for joining us. And
Yeah,
I
thank
want to
you.
say thanks to everyone who's listening for listening to this, because this is a really important conversation. So if you think that your pastor or people at your church or a counselor that you know could catch this vision, please share today's episode with them. And as always, tag us on all your social media channels. Thank you, guys. Thanks for listening to I Wish You Could Hear This. Remember to subscribe to our podcast. And as always, forward today's audio or video link to a friend, counselor, or pastor who would be encouraged.